Moving on to the other side of the Big Apple, the New York Mets are leading the NL in wins. Jason, our resident non-New Yorker, not even a Mets fan. Is the Big Apple back? Is the Big Apple back to being the baseball capital of the U.S.? Mets are looking great. No DeGrom yet this year. Scherzer's barely played. I mean, their lineup's definitely a lot more complete than it was last year. Alonso's back to hitting balls out of the yard. Marte's having an all-star caliber season. Lindor isn't stinking up the joint and getting booed every home series. What's the pulse of the Mets fan base, Jason, if you have one?
I mean, first of all, let me get this straight. There's always people out there that say the Mets and Yankees are zero rivalry. There's nothing between the teams. There's not in the same leagues, not in the same division.
That's not true at all, is it?
And in my opinion, from my experience, I'm a diehard Yankee fan. That's just simply not true. Majority of my friends growing up in high school, middle school, elementary school were Mets fans. That just happened the way it was. And we always like to talk shit to each other, whoever was hotter at the time. Most of the time growing up, the Yankees were usually the better team, regardless of kind of the World Series outcomes. But in terms of the Mets, I do think they're the best Mets team they've had in a long time, top to bottom. And I think it starts with kind of Buck Showalter and the two pitchers at the top. But in my opinion, I had this from before the season started. I thought the two most complete teams in baseball were the Braves and Dodgers. I thought the Braves could legitimately go back-to-back, and I'm still picking them to win the NL East. I think they are 3 or 4 games out right now, which they did make up a lot of ground. So
I can give you that.
I think the Mets do get into the playoffs, but I do think the Braves take that division. I just think from the lineup, the bullpen, the experience, everything top to bottom, I think they're the better team. So we'll see what happens. Also, I mean, DeGrom's obviously the best pitcher on the planet, but he's never healthy, and Scherzer as well is another top 5, arguably even higher than that. But again, he's 38 years old, whatever he is. So we'll kind of see how healthy they actually stay throughout the year.
Paul, you want to chime in here? Your Pirates are beating the Brewers 7-4 in the bottom of the 7th right now. 3rd place Pittsburgh Pirates.
Oh, nice. When I hopped onto this call, it was 5-3. So I was expecting the score update to be like 7-5 Brewers or something like that. Next time. That's a pleasant.
No, you're keeping it together right now.
The National League is, I think that there are a couple really good teams. It's hard to not say that the Mets are the best right now, but in my opinion, as a guy who's watched a lot of National League baseball, primarily National League baseball, I still think the National League will always, for the past 10 years, go through Los Angeles. And that's where I'm inclined to go with right now. Still, like if I had to, place a bet on who I think would be the National League representative, I'm still going to go with LA. But the Mets are doing extremely impressive, and as Jason alluded to, without Scherzer and DeGrom, it's going to be really interesting. The Braves are nipping at their heels. They're playing better baseball. I mean, on paper, the Mets, should be by far and away the better team than they are right now. But the Braves were not the best team in Major League Baseball last year by any stretch, and they found a way to win the World Series. So you can never really count them out. And then I do have to throw a little bit of love to a National League Central team that I think the St. Louis Cardinals are a real threat this year. The way Paul Goldschmidt's swinging the bat. So I don't know if there's any team that's as good as the Yankees right now, and I think the American League might have a little bit more depth, but there's some top-heavy teams in the National League where it's just too tough for me to call. I still have to lean with the Dodgers.
Earlier you mentioned standings. The Mets, 47-29 in the NL East. The Braves are 3.5 games back at 44-33. The Braves are also in second place for the NL wild card. At the moment, the Padres have a lead for the wild card there. They're a game and a half back of the Dodgers in their division. And then the Cardinals are in second place to the Brewers right now. Brewers 44-33. They've got a game and a half up on St. Louis. I've got the World Series odds right here in front of me. These are courtesy of FanDuel from earlier today. The Yankees have the best odds at plus 400. The Dodgers are next at plus 450, and then it's Houston at plus 600 and the Mets at plus 700. That's kind of the first tier of odds lists. After that, you have the Braves, Blue Jays, and Padres all at plus 1,300. The Brewers at plus 1,800. The Cardinals at plus 2,800. Giants and Rays at plus 3,000. And then you have the Red Sox, White Sox, Twins, Phillies, Guardians, Angels, so on and so on. It kind of gets worse from there. The one team that I'm looking at just from that list, and I do think that maybe the AL has slightly more depth to it, but only really in the AL East. If I'm looking across the other divisions in the NL, the Cardinals have a great squad. The Brewers actually do have a great squad, and they're still not really getting the best out of Christian Yelich. If he can figure it out, if he can put together a season or a second half like he had a couple years ago, they can be a real threat. The Dodgers, of course, you don't even really need to talk about them. We all know how good they are and how good they can be. I am really interested to see how the Padres do for the rest of the year, because you remember last year they made that move for they brought in Clevenger, and that was big at the time. And then he gets ruled out for the rest of the year with, what was it, TJ that he had or something that ruled him out. Now he's back. He's been pitching pretty well for them this year. Machado is having an all-star caliber season, maybe even an MVP level season. I mean, he's having a great year, and Tatis still isn't there yet. So they're going to be getting him back sometime after the All-Star break. I don't remember when exactly. They're going to be tough in that Dodgers division. I think that, some of those games that we saw between those teams last year that everybody was tuning in for, we're going to see more of those at the end of the year this year. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it came down to those two teams for the NL crown. But I'd be hard pressed to say it's not going to be a great year for the Yankees, just as it looks right now. It's tough to say it, but it's just the truth. The Astros, they've been the team to go through in the AL for a few years, and I think that still holds up. But I don't know if they really have the same. I feel like losing Correa is a difference maker for them. I know they've got the what's his name, Diaz, the shortstop, the kid that's playing really, really well.
Pena,
that's right. Yeah, he's been incredible this year. He'll probably win Rookie of the Year in the AL. But I think, they had that core of Springer and Correa, and now you still have Altuve and Bregman there, and Alvarez is fantastic. Brantley, Tucker, they've got so many great players. But I feel like come postseason time, that will make a little bit of a difference. You have to have new guys step up and have those big moments that those guys used to have. Somebody's got to be the new guy. And last year they lost the World Series. They didn't win it. Atlanta won. And, who's to say what happens this year? I think the AL race will be interesting, but I think it'll be more interesting on the NL side. I feel like if it was anybody besides the Astros and the Yankees in the ALCS this year, I'd kind of be shocked. Maybe my Red Sox put some moves together. Maybe the Blue Jays keep this up. I feel like the Blue Jays have some holes in their roster, honestly, where maybe they make some moves at the deadline to have some more consistency. But we'll see.